Welcome back to Mr. Gard's maths lesson. Today we're going to be looking at adding and subtracting negative integers or negative numbers. Now we looked in the last lesson at adding and subtracting positive integers and we found that to be quite simple relative to what we had done in the past. This time around you need to pay really close attention. Adding a negative number will always decrease the starting number. So that's important to remember. So I want to go through a few little examples here really quickly. So I'll zoom in, make them a little bit bigger. Now if we had 2 plus 3, we know that the answer is 5 because that is 2 plus positive 3. 2 plus 2 is 4. 2 plus 1 is 3. You will notice that as we decrease the number we're adding, our answer decreases naturally. 2 plus 0, 2. 2 plus negative 1. According to our pattern, we should go down a position. Should be 1. So if we have $2 and we are given negative $1, we're actually going backwards. We now only have $1. 2 plus minus 2 takes us down to 0. 2 plus negative 3 is going to take us down again to negative 1. We can look at that on the number line. If we look at this question, starting at 2, we want to add normally and go that way, but we're not adding a positive number, we're actually adding a negative number. So that kind of reverses it. So we're actually going backwards. And we end up at the negative 1 position. That was adding negative numbers. If we now look at subtracting, so in this case we've got 2 minus positive 3. So if we have $2 and we subtract $3, we're going to end up with negative 1. If we have 2 and we subtract positive 2, we're going to get 0. 2 subtract 1 or positive 1, we're going to get 1. You can see how the pattern's going here. 2 subtract 0, 2. 2 subtract negative 1. According to our pattern, the answer should be 3. So if we have $2, let's start here, and we want to subtract negative 1. Normally, if you were subtracting, you'd go backwards. You'd want to go that way. But because we're subtracting a negative value, we reverse it and we go 1 position, which is why we have an answer of 3. 2 minus negative 2 becomes 4. 2 subtract negative 3 becomes 5. If you think about it, we can look at these two negative values. If we look at what our end result ends up being, 2 subtract negative 2 becomes 4. That's kind of the same as saying plus. So if you are subtracting a negative number, you're actually adding it. Here are my golden rules over to the right. Don't worry that it's an A and a B, just consider them numbers. I've got an example below that you can use. So if you have positive A, so A plus a negative B, or A plus a negative number, it is the same as saying A subtract B. So if we have 2 and we add a negative number, we end up with 2 subtract 3. See how these two make a negative. Similarly, if we have an A and we subtract a negative value, like we were over here, that is the same as just adding the number. So a negative and a negative make a positive. So you subtract a negative value, it is the same as just adding that value. A little bit confusing. Feel free to look through this video a second time, maybe even a third time, but these are really important topics that you need to get your head around. Thanks for listening. See you at the next lesson.